What's up, people? Welcome to this week's lecture. We are getting ready to finish up our final drafts of Essay 1. This is week 6 of our semester. That's crazy. That's exciting. Okay, so this is a big deal. This week's a big deal because a lot of you have grades that maybe you're not happy with. Maybe you think they're too low, they're lower than what you want. Okay. And this is a chance for you to boost your grade really, really high. All right. Essay 1 is worth 20% of your overall grade. And so it is ginormous. All these little individual assignments that you're doing right now don't really matter compared to your 3 essays. So let's say you're in the C zone here. Okay. Well, if you turn in an A paper, your grade might then jump like possibly to a low A. All right. So, and if you are in the A zone and you're like, oh, whatever, and you don't really turn in essay, like as you don't turn essay at all, or you turn in a really crappy essay, then your grade will plummet. Okay. The essays are big time. Okay. And then for those of you who are failing or just have low grades because you haven't turned in a lot of assignments, while you can't turn in makeup work, those assignments are already done. You can vastly improve your grade by getting a good score on essay 1. Okay, because like I've said before, theoretically, you could still get a pretty good grade in the class and not do any of the classwork as long as you just make good grades on the essays. All right. Now here's the issue though. A lot of times people who don't do their classwork don't do well in the essays because part of them not doing well or not turning in their assignments is that they're also not paying attention and they complete the essays incorrectly. And then they get low grades because they haven't been paying attention. And so they don't do what I've asked because so much of your essay requires following my directions. Okay. That, direction following is important for your job. It's important for your future careers. We need to be able to listen and hear and do the things that either our bosses or our clients, if you're an entrepreneur and you're like, no one's going to be my boss. Well, your clients might be your boss in a sense. And so you need to kind of give people what they want. And so following directions. And then also, I made things very specific as a way to try to make using AI more difficult. People could, if you worked hard enough using AI, I guess you could do these papers, right? But you're going to work just as hard as you would if you just wrote the thing yourself. So I really am pushing for people to create their own work and putting forth the effort. And that a lot of times requires having watched the lectures and reading the information that I posted and reading my notes and like listening to me and then trying to like do the thing that like I've asked you to do. Okay. All right. So let's get to this week. Let's look at our page. Here we go. Nope, that's not it. All right. So today, really all I'm doing today is going to edit some papers live. Okay. But before I do that, though, I want to go over this important document. As you prepare to submit your paper, go down to week 6, final drafts, and then essay 1, read before submitting. This document is here, and when you click on that on the Dropbox for essay 1, it's also here as well because I really want you to read it. I really want you to read this, okay? This is really important. This goes over everything again and really emphasizes what I'm looking for. So on this document here, all right, this is the essay 1, read before submitting. It goes over what you're doing. This essay asks you to think critically, anticipate readers' questions about your 3 primary source texts, your 3 secondary sources, and your ideas. Use the framework and outline I laid out for you. The outline I gave you wasn't a suggestion. It was the only thing that you can do a little different with your outline is if you switch maybe the flow of the body paragraphs. But like you have to have a body paragraph on a philosophy, like an actual school of philosophy. Like a lot of you have in your essays or in your outlines in your thesis talked about stoicism. Cool. Relativism. Awesome. Existentialism. Totally. All right. All of those. Taoism. Yes. Okay. Those are all things that you can talk about. Those are actual schools of philosophy. So you have to have a paragraph about a school of philosophy and relating it to one of your stories. You have to have a paragraph that's about symbolism in one of your stories and how that contributes to the theme. You have to have a paragraph in your body paragraphs that discusses the big overarching theme, the one major theme of the short story. Okay. If you don't have those things, then your paper will lose points. All right. That's the framework. Sure, if your first body paragraph, you want to be about the philosophy, then the second one is about symbolism, the third one is about the theme overall, fine. You can rearrange those as long as you have those. All right. That is necessary. I'm at home and look who I have with me today. These creatures. Okay. So here again, I've listed out your objectives. Identify why you feel the themes, big and small ideas, are present in the primary sources. The primary sources, these are your short stories that you read. It was on 3 short stories, so you gotta make sure that you discuss those. Reinforce the necessity for proper accreditations when citing evidence, meaning just make sure you are citing your sources. All right, and then proper MLA formatting. Here are you should review these before you submit. Make sure your paper falls in line with all of these things. 3 pages in length before the works cited page. Identify, develop, and support a theme, a minor theme, and a philosophy present in your chosen primary sources while using at least one symbol. Use 3 secondary sources from Galileo to support your analysis. Use at least 3 direct quotes from each secondary source. Use only short quotations. 1 to 3 lines. You'll lose points if you use a super long. If you're using long quotes, you'll lose points. Okay. Do not summarize primary sources. Okay. Make sure you have a good thesis. I copy and pasted my original thesis example for you. You can read through that. You should read through all this. This is all very specific on purpose stuff. Okay. Here it says, I want to emphasize, let's see, we're here. Refer to sources in the literary present. What you read in the document is happening in the moment you read it. So it should be a character feels something, not they felt. Literary present. Also, first person for the introduction is fine. Third person for body paragraph is suggested, but not required. And the conclusion has to be first person. I did state up here, right here, earlier up. Conclusion paragraphs should be personal. How do you relate or connect to one of the stories or philosophy? That's what it should be on. I should just go ahead and do question mark. Okay. All right. Again, essay 1, final draft is worth 20% of your entire course grade. That's big. That's big. If you make 100s on every single assignment, but you do not turn in this one essay, your grade, the highest grade you can get is an 80. Okay, so you need to get it in. Okay, how I'm grading you. Okay, how I'm grading you. These are all the things I'm going to deduct points from. -5 points for each formatting error, citing errors, quote integration errors, spelling errors, including names, citation errors, okay, typos, etc. -15 points for missing a primary source. This paper should discuss 3 different short stories. So if you only write about 2 stories, you lose 15 points. If you write the whole paper on just 1 story, you write 3 body paragraphs on the same story. You write 1 paragraph about a symbolism on that short story, and then use the same short story to then write about a school of philosophy. And then you write a 3rd paragraph on the same short story about its overall arching theme. You will lose 30 points because you've only discussed 1 short story when you're supposed to have discussed 3. 10 points if a body paragraph does not include a direct quote from a secondary source. All right. Also, I'm going to add this. I realize this. Minus 5 points if you use a secondary source from an unapproved resource. I listed places that you can get secondary sources and where you cannot. If you quote some random website that is not on the approval list, you will lose points. Okay. Minus 5 points if the works cited page contains a source not quoted in the essay. If you have a source listed on your works cited page, but you did not quote that from that source, then you will lose points. Okay. Please do not use AI. I am not grading you on your ability to craft beautiful sentences or an advanced vocabulary. Your sentences, while they should be grammatically correct, should also sound like the writing of a freshman college student / high school dual enrollment student. Do not use AI suggested rephrasing of your writing. You need to first master how to write all on your own before learning how to incorporate those resources into your writing. This should not sound like a robot trying to fake like having a personality wrote this paper. Okay. I get them all the time. All right. And people will use AI and they still include all these errors in their paper. So they still end up getting low grades because here's the thing about it. Most of the people who use AI are not actually also looking over the requirements, and they're not looking at the skills that I'm wanting you to demonstrate. And so they don't do really any of the work. They don't really follow in the notes because their intention is always just, they're going to be using AI anyways to write these papers. So then they don't incorporate any of the things I've asked them to incorporate, or they never took the time to really learn how to use quotes and things properly. And so then they end up getting the low scores anyways. So please do not use AI. Learn how to do all this on your own. Okay. Here's a list of all the primary sources. Here might be easier for this. Let me just put this on 3rd page. These are all the primary sources that you could be using in your paper. These are the correct formatting for your works cited page. Okay. So if you're talking about the love of my life, and you're also using Hannah Gadsby's Nanette, and you are using Where You Going, Where You Been, this is the way that these should look. Just copy these and put these in your paper. This is exactly the correct citation for these 3, for whatever the stories you're using. Okay, so I provided for you these. You need to do the proper citations for your 3 secondary sources. In your works cited page needs to be in alphabetical order. Needs to be in alphabetical order. All right. Do not bold it. Imagine this is my works cited page. It should just say this: works cited, and then it should have the sources I used, whichever 3 I used here in alphabetical order. When you insert your secondary sources, they shouldn't be highlighted. They shouldn't be tinted. They shouldn't be shadowed. They should look just like this, but just in the correct alphabetical order. If your works cited page is not in alphabetical order, you're going to lose points. If there's inconsistency, sometimes when we copy and paste, you need to like change the font into all the same font. So like, let's say this is my essay. Let's just say this whole thing is my essay. I would want to select all. And if you notice up here, look, see how this is blank? This is blank. That means that there's different size text throughout the whole document, And there's different fonts throughout the document. So just click one. Okay. I just do Times New Roman. All right. And then do the 12-point font. All right. And then just get it all. So then when you highlight it, it says it up here. Okay. Now, of course, you do that, and then you might have to change the formatting around some. And so then you fix it. Okay. But everything needs to be done correctly. It takes me forever to grade your assignments because I've been trying to mark up errors so you don't commit those. Okay. It's going to take me 2 weeks to grade all your essays because these are much longer, much bigger. And so I'm going to be looking for all this stuff. All right. This class is what we call it a writing class. It's college writing. It's understanding how you write for a college class. In a college class, your papers need to be formatted correctly because in the collegiate world, when you submit research, it has to be in the correct format. And you need to be able to integrate your quotes and integrate your research correctly. All right. And then and cite your sources. So all this is required because this is a college writing class. All right. Okay. All of these should not be on your paper. You should only have the only ones listed are the ones that you are actually quoting from talking about in your paper. All right. Now, also, if you refer to the lottery in your paper, you need to use quotation marks. Every time you say the title of the lottery in your paper, it should have quotation marks. Look, Nanette, turns out because Nanette is a short performance, it's not a movie, it's not considered a film. It's a short performance. So it's in quotation marks. So whenever you talk about Nanette in your paper, it needs to be in quotation marks, not in italics, because on your works cited page, it should look like this. And the way the titles are written on your works cited page is how they should be written in your paper. All right. So when you're talking about as a woman, it needs to be in italics. When you refer to the author of As a Woman, you need to be referring to her as Williams, last name Williams, not Stone, like so many people did in their homework. All right. So you don't need to mention arguing about literature. You don't need to mention the textbook in your paper. Okay, that's not necessary. And like the whatever name is listed here is what should go in your parenthetical citation. All right. So 5 points off. Okay, 5 points off. If you listen of all these errors, where is it? Okay, now look, if you have all this stuff and you just have tons of errors, generally, most of the time, I stop at like 8. I won't mark every single error, especially if you have tons of them. Once you get about 8, I kind of stop and just give you a 60. If you have errors, but then also you left things out, like you didn't even try to do MLA formatting, or you don't have 3 secondary sources, or you don't have one of the stories, then you will get much lower than a 60. Then you can get a 40 on this paper, a 30 on this paper. All right. But if you have everything there, like obviously you tried MLA formatting. There are 3 different stories you talked about. You did talk about a school of philosophy. You do have 3 outside sources. You just had all these errors. You just have a bunch of, errors here and there, right? Then usually I will stop around a 60 and just give you a 60, which is technically a passing grade. It's a D. Okay. All right. So make sure you look through this and use this before you submit your paper. Okay. Great. All right. Let's look at some of these. I have 5. I don't know if I'll go over all 5. We'll see. Essay 1. Nope, not that one. First essay. This person, Ashley Sapphire. Her name's not Sapphire, but this person emailed me first and asked, hey, can you edit my paper first? And I said, sure. So here we go. Ashley Sapphire. Okay. So we have, it's interesting. I don't know what this chart is. That's not incorrect. It's there. Last name, page number. Okay. Oh, see, here's the problem. Notice this page number is not inserted correctly because it's written Sapphire 1, but then down here, we have Sapphire 1. And then right here, we have Sapphire 1. The page numbers are not changing as the paper goes on. So let's just get rid of this. Just delete this whole table. Like that shouldn't be there, okay? Instead, we go to Insert. And it's already right there, page numbers. You go to Insert, and then, oops. Page number is here also. Top of the page. Click down to the plane number 3. So it's on the right-hand side. And then type your last name. Okay, space. Now, when we go to each page, Sapphire 1, Sapphire 2, Sapphire 3, see, it's on every page now. Okay, again, this thing, we can just get rid of this. Delete entire row. Fine, there we go. Okay. All right, this is off. Even if this was the document I uploaded, and if it uploaded oddly, because I noticed that, you just need to fix it. It needs to be everything needs to be on the same margin. This header and your essay. Okay. Already, you can tell us there's some formatting issues here. So if we select all, I do Control A, select all. We can see here that there's inconsistency in font. This is blank. So we need to just pick one. Okay. Now we do it again, select all, and it's all the same. It's all, everything here is 12 and everything here is Times New Roman, right? So now let's go to paragraph. Okay, blank, blank, blank. That means there's inconsistencies throughout this paper. If it was all the same, you would see what was in the before after box and line spacing. So let's go to 0 for before. It should always be 0, 0, double. 0, 0, double. Boom. Now we are talking. Okay. And let's do it again. Let's do Control All. Just make sure that it is 0, 0. See, it's there now. 0, 0, double. That means the whole essay is 0, 0, double. Okay. Red squiggly line tells us it's misspelled. Okay. Now let's just go through some of the things that sometimes I do not just start with the first word and go straight down. Okay. A lot of times I am picking at things like a bird, like a bird on the ground. Okay. And some things automatically catch my eye. Like, for example, here. Okay, the love of my life. All right, and the lottery and Nanette. All right. So the lottery here needs to be in quotation marks because it's a short story. It's a short story. So that should not be like that. I mean, it shouldn't be in italics. It should be in quotation marks. So like the lottery. So every time that would have been 5 points off also. All right. So here we would have 5 points off for this, 5 points off for this not being double spaced, 5 points off for this being in italics. So that's already 15 points off. It's already an 85. It's the highest this person could have made. Okay. So now let's look down here. Okay, so see we have Nanette Abridge italics. So this person, I'm not taking points off for this because this is before I went over this. On your paper, I will take off points because, as I discussed, this actually should be in quotation marks, it turns out. But for this paper, for this draft right now, currently, it's fine. But Asha will need to fix that in her actual one. All right, the love of my life, quotation marks, good. Quotation marks, good. But then, though, I noticed down here, the love of my life is in italics. Oh, no. That would have been 5 points off, too. That's inconsistent. So this needs to be in quotation marks. Okay. let's see, the lottery here, this needs to be, oops. All right, here I see a citation for Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Look down here, it's in italics because it's a publication. So that needs to be italicized. All right, so is that 7 errors now? Or is that 6? Okay, Jackson, good. All right. All right, love of my life, again. So I'm first looking at titles. Are titles correct? All right. In this case, they're not. So if you, this week, you are editing your paper, you need to go through, and this is what I think you should do. Listen, when you're editing your papers, don't read it. Don't go from the top and go down and read it, because you're going to get too stuck in what you're saying. Instead, you got to look at technically. So you got to look at all the technical stuff, all right? Go through and look at all your titles, all right? Are your titles written correctly? If they're written correctly, great. If they're not, fix all your titles. I'm going to highlight all of this. This is not a requirement, but I'm telling you, it just looks better. When people use, right now, this is currently a left align. See, this is straight down, but this is all jagged. Up here, there's justify. Okay. All right, so we have titles. Went through, looked at titles. All right. The next thing that you need to focus on are your quotes integrated correctly. So just go to the quotes. Just find the quotes. Don't read. Just find your quotes. This is the first paragraph. Not needing to look at that. You should have a quote. Don't have any quotes in your first paragraph, people. No quotes in your first paragraph. Cheers to that. All right, here we have some quotes. In the net, abridged. Hannah Gadsby reflects on how she has, quote, built a career out of self-deprecating humor, but no longer wants to continue because, for marginalized individuals, it's not humility, it's humiliation. All right, that's perfect. Wow, that's beautiful, okay? I want to believe that that's really this person writing it. That's not AI. That is perfect. We have the reference to the speaker. We have a quote that, to me, this is the best way to use quotes. This is the most mature, academically wise way of using quotes. Not she said, they write, but to integrate these quotes almost seamlessly into your sentences. Hannah Gadsby reflects on how she has, quote, built da 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 da, but no longer wants to continue. And then this right here. If we deleted these quotes, the sentences would be incomplete. Imagine if we deleted this. Hannah Gadsby reflects on how she has, but no longer wants to continue because. That makes no sense. And that's because the quote is integrated correctly. The quote is a part of the sentence itself. They're symbiotic. They are two different things attached together, and they have to both, and now they've become one. So that's the perfect way of integrating quotes. If you can delete the quote and clearly the sentence is incomplete, then you're good. And there's no parenthetical citation here because she's already mentioned Hannah Gadsby's name. The name is mentioned in the sentence. Do not put it in the parenthetical citation. People are still doing that, even though I keep talking about it. Let's see. Okay. Jason Zinnemann in The New Yorker explains that for a joke to work, the comic needs to artificially manufacture tension. And in Gadsby's case, this tension often comes from her experience as a queer woman. Okay. That's a great way to integrate a quote. We have the author's name. We have the source, The New Yorker, and The New Yorker is written in italics as it should be. And then we have the use of that to introduce the quote. And when you have the word that here, you would never, some people are still wanting to put a comma and a capital F. Explains that And then we have this here. That is incorrect. If you have the word that, do not end it with a comma and then begin the quote with a capital letter. Okay. Now, you could write Jason if you're just so you love yourself, a comma and a capital letter, then delete that and just after the verb explains. Okay. I went over this. This is listed in the week 2 PowerPoint. So either explains for a joke to work, but to me, I really just like the explains that. No comma, no capital letter. Okay. But you can't have both. All right. So this paragraph here, if you're editing your paper, you got to have a quote from your primary source. Check. Quote from your secondary source. Check. And then talk about, a big idea, allowing people to cope, or actually a small idea, difficult experiences. Okay. Again, there's no citation because here's the author. Then make sure that this is mentioned in your works cited page. Go down your works cited page. Okay, so here we have, all right, there's Jason. All right, New Yorker, good. And then Henry Gatsby, good. All right. What I would do if you're just editing your paper, I would, each time you've used a source, I would just highlight it on a works cited page. So that way I don't accidentally end up with too many sources. Sometimes people will put extra sources on their works cited page that they don't actually end up quoting in their paper, and then they lose points. Okay, so that paragraph looks good. All right, next paragraph. In The Love of My Life, T.C. Boyle explores how secrets and betrayal can lead to devastating consequences. Okay. All right, let's look at this quote here. At first, they try to bury the truth, but as Jeremy later realizes, okay, comma, cool. Secrets. Okay, so in this case, this secrets should be capitalized. All right, secrets don't stay secrets forever, not when they are this big. Even if this is not a even if this is not a what do you call it? A capital letter in the actual book, oh well, still capitalize it. And because this comes from your book, you need to have page numbers. So here we would need to have Boyle, and then do we know what page? I listed the page numbers on the one here. So you would need to, Boyle's story takes place 453 to 463-ish. So you would need to go find the page number that quote's on, 457. Okay. So don't highlight this on your paper, but I'm highlighting right now as in like that would be an error. Okay. Because the author's name is not mentioned here in this paragraph. So we'll still need the author's name and we need a page number. Notice there's no like comma P, there's no pair, PAR period 2. I don't care about paragraph numbers, people. All right, if there's a page number, use the page number. There are no page numbers. Like for Nanette, there's no page numbers. Don't use it. And I don't really care. Technically, I guess for Nanette, you should be putting the minutes in which the quote was said. We'll save that for later on. Okay. All right. China, trying to escape blame, she thought she had a miscarriage and agrees to testify against them. Okay, great. But again, Boyle, here we need page number. All right. Shirley Jackson's The Lottery highlights the dangers of more relativism. All right, so now, so here we have, okay. So we have more relativism. Good. This right here is a theme. Okay. Now, what I've noticed though, this paper is that here we don't have a symbol. Where is there a symbol? Well, oh wait, no, you're right. I didn't say no. I did say quote. That's right. I did say you could also find a direct quote, and this is the direct quote that the person is saying. Okay, yes, no, you're good. Secrets, don't say secrets forever. Not when they're this big. That's like that one like small theme, yeah, idea that can be used later on, or as a truth. So that's good. Okay, that's good. All right, let's look at this quote. This reflects the idea that right and wrong are products of differing conventions and that moral standards depend on the social framework that creates them. Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. And let me just make sure there's not an author. All right. Oh, I see here. Okay. So look, y'all. Teachable moment. Teachable moment. There's going to be tons of people who don't watch this lecture who are going to miss this. All right. But let it be known, I did go over it at 10:44 a.m. on February 14th, Valentine's Day, Friday. If your source has no actual person's name, like a human being, you do not include. You just leave that part blank. And so if the author's name part is blank, then what comes first in the citations is the title of the article or chapter. Relativism. Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy is not an author. Okay. Most encyclopedias are written by a bunch of different people. Now, I'm not going to do this research, but sometimes these encyclopedias have the author's name at the bottom of that section. But I'm not going to go find it. Okay. As in to verify. So we're just going to do the title of that section with Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. So then in that case, when you don't have an author, the title of the piece goes in the parenthetical citation. So here, it would not be Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. It'll be relativism. It's not in italics, I'll tell you that. Okay. That is the way it should be written. Okay. Because when you go down to the works cited page, that's what should be what we should see. You should not have, there should never be an organization listed before the title of the piece. Okay. It's either a human being like Hannah Gadsby or Jason Zinnemann, or it is the title of the piece. Okay. It shouldn't say unknown or unknown author or whatever. It should just have the author's name or there is no author's name. All right. Again, I'm telling you right now, there's gonna be so many people who do this incorrectly and they're gonna lose points. They're like, I didn't know that. And I'm like, well, did you watch all of the lecture? And they'll say, no, I didn't. Okay. When Tessie Hutchinson is chosen, she protests, saying, it isn't fair, it isn't right. But no one questions the ritual itself. The villagers blindly accept the lottery's authority because it has always been done, illustrating how relativism can lead people to accept unjust actions when they are normalized within a culture. Good. Okay. Then here we have, as I've grown up, I've started to realize that people see things differently based on their own experiences, cultures, blah, blah, blah. Great. I mean, I'm not saying blah, 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 but I'm saying good. I'm not going to read that for everybody here. Okay. So this was used. Secret Pilgrim. Hold on. This was used. The Secret Pilgrim. John le Carre. Did I miss that here? Oh, right here. Oh, yeah. Cool. Great. Okay. So this process of grading it is also really the process that you should be editing your paper. Okay. You need to look at my thing here, things that I'm like editing, things I'm looking for. All right. And you should go through each thing and make sure that you have the primary sources, that you integrated them correctly, that you have a different quote from each secondary source. All right, that you have a conclusion that is personal, that you have an introduction that does these things, that your thesis statement, oh, which I didn't even look at her thesis statement. Let's check out the thesis statement. All these ideas are explored in the net, the love of my life and the lottery, each revealing different aspects of human nature and the struggles people face. The net shows how comedy can be a mask for deep pain, while the love of my life explores how love and obsession can lead to a portrayal of tragedy. In the lottery, oh, no, 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 no. Let's make sure we fix that one. The villagers blindly follow tradition, showing how moral choices are shaped by the society around them. Great. Okay. And what this person did is that they broke up their thesis, which is totally fine. Okay. I mean, as you get to become a more advanced writer, you don't really have a thesis statement. You have like a thesis paragraph. Okay. So, but all the main points are here, all the stories are here, and what they're going to be discussing is here, which is great. Okay. Now, so this process of reading through your papers, but not from start to finish, helps you to focus on the skills. I interned for a press where I had to edit manuscripts, and they told us what you do is that you read backwards. Okay, you read backwards. You read the sentences backwards. You edit. I had to edit each sentence for grammar, and like I was not a content editor. I was not a story editor. I was solely a mechanics editor. My job was just to look for grammatical errors. That's it. So they told me, they were like, the best way to do this is to go through each sentence backwards, because then if you go backwards, you can't put together the story. So you can't get sidetracked by the story. You just your brain just focuses on each sentence individually, which is what you should do as well. If you get too much into reading your paper from start to finish, you're going to be more focused on how you sound rather than if you're doing things correctly. And your brain will kind of fix things for you. And that's another thing. Also, your brain likes we like to try to subconsciously fix the world around us, so we missee things. Sometimes we don't see errors if we get too much into the story. So you need to go backwards. You need to you need to do a checklist of, say, I'm gonna look at all my titles, I'm gonna look at all my quotes, I'm gonna look at all these things individually and go through your whole paper looking just for those things. Bounce around. All right, that will help you to finesse the best essay possible. All right. All right. I think I might split up some of these lectures. I think this was pretty good for my first one. I don't want to do too much. But also, let me just say one more thing. I don't think Ashley Sapphire used AI for this, but let's just say she did. Okay. If she used AI and just copy and paste and put this in here, okay, AI still does things that can cause little errors. I see AI not, because AI doesn't necessarily follow all these types of formats and stuff. So like this paper, while is really good, it also still would have failed because there was more than 8 errors. There's just are intelligently, like as in you can tell that this person actually understands these stories and gets some deep insights and understands how she can relate to school philosophy to the story, and all that's great. But there are still little errors, little errors. Okay, and college really, well, it's also about sharpening our brains and being able to see things more deeply and stuff. It's also being able to create a more chiseled, finer eye for details. And the small little things in this paper would have caused it still to have made a low grade. Okay. So these are the things, these things. I remember, and I was the same way when I was a freshman. I remember a professor giving back a paper, and it was just marked all up with grammatical issues and formatting. And they were like, and they were on the paper, they were like, listen, you have great ideas, but your ideas get buried in all of your grammatical errors. Okay. And so if you really want people to see, your light that shines out of your intelligence, you have to make sure that it can get through any of the grammatical barriers that will hide that light. So, we do really focus in on a lot on the details. Okay. All right. I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you need anything. Again, I am not editing your drafts. I gave you a grade for having a draft because I want you to edit your own draft. Okay. But if I don't, for a lot of people, they don't care if something is like a best practice. They won't do it unless they get a grade. So you can't edit a draft that's not written. So I required y'all to write a draft so that then you can edit your draft. Okay. So make sure that you edit your paper. Try to go to the Learning Success Center, see if they can help you by pointing out some of your errors that you can fix, and they can work through with you and talk to you about how to fix those errors. They are real helpful in that area. Okay. All right, y'all, take it easy. If you are a Gwinnett County high school student, enjoy your break. Okay. Bye-bye.